Good morning, everyone. Hello, hello. Hi. Hello. How are you finding the Building Bridges conference so far? Are you learning something? Yes or no? Yes. Wow, that was a powerful yes. How about the ones upstairs? Are you learning something? Yes. Amazing. What a powerful answer. And are you ready to listen to the one, Dr. Juan? Okay. So for this next session, our speaker is a director and associate professor at the School of Education and Psychology at the University of Navarra in Spain. He has been a member of the Education, Citizenship, and Character Research Group since 2015 and dedicates his research on virtuous character development and a focus on leadership training. By the way, my name is Rodney De Leon. I'm one of the organizers. I'm your host and moderator for this session. And without further ado, I would like to introduce to you the one, Dr. Juan Dabdoub. Let's give him a warm round of applause.
Thank you, Rodney. Welcome, everybody. Good morning. In case some of you have already been in the presentation that we had yesterday, in the afternoon, none of you. Because I'm going to repeat, I'm going to make a briefer version of what we did yesterday in case you want to see the other parallel presentation. No? And also I will be repeating this in a more extensive format during the 4-day training that we have on Monday. So already said that, I want to begin this presentation by saying that I will be sharing the presentation, the slides. So in case, I know there's a lot of people who like to take pictures. You can take the pictures anyway, if you want, or write things. But you will have this available at the end. You will have the presentation, the website. There's an interview in which we speak for the questions about what we do. There's a documentary of the work that we have been doing with public schools in Mexico. There are 2 documentaries, by the way. And finally, there's a paper that is more extensive, an academic paper, even though it has been written for practitioners. So you don't have to be an academic to read it. And finally, we usually begin our workshops, no? We've been doing this in 16 countries by now, and we usually begin doing a group activity in which we ask the school leaders that are participating with us to think about their students. The students are going to be there a long time during their school years. And they may spend more time with their teachers, with their educators, than with their parents, no? Because of how society is evolving. This is a huge responsibility, a huge power, you would say. And we encourage them to think about which are the things that are most important for you to achieve during these years. When these children are going out on graduation day and they're going to the university or they're finishing university, how would you like them to be? Which are the results that you would like to achieve? No? And we ask them to think about 3 words that describe the goals, the achievements, the traits, or however you want to call it. And people start thinking and they write down things, and then we ask them, we make another challenge, and we tell them, hey, can you tell us which of these 3 is the most important for you? No? I know it's difficult, but maybe some of you are already trying to do this in your mind's eye or whatever. So the results that we usually get are something similar to this. Maybe have you thought of similar words or something related? No? Being a kind person, responsible, sincere, happy, generous, just, joyful, humble, magnanimous, nice. I don't know. No, these are the kind of words that we usually find. Maybe this is not a surprise for you, but most of these words are moral virtues. And that comes as a shock for many people, mostly in the public systems of the countries that we visit. Because this is like saying, hey, the most important thing even in public schools are moral virtues. And they say, no. The first thing is academics. That's the important thing. And I'm not denying that academics is important. No, we want children to learn math and to learn languages and to know about science and stuff. But when you ask an educator, which is the most important thing for you? Why are you here? This is what is found at the heart of the calling of education. I have never heard one single educator say differential equations. This is what I'm trying to know. Or I want them to learn Spanish. That's the most important thing for me, no? Or the chemistry table, whatever. No? So having said this, sometimes people have problem with these words and they say, hey, what do you really mean? What is being just? What is being sincere? When? Under which conditions? No? And sometimes people don't like the word virtues. In many countries, this is a difficult word, and we usually don't need it. It's a word that I really like, you know, and if it's fine, I will use it. But if it's a problem, there's no problem at all. We can avoid using it. Because when we go into, hey, let's talk about what we mean by these words. Let's talk about what we mean by virtues. There's no problem. Usually people agree with that, no? So being a good person or having good character, which is now, we come from the character education world. Pete was talking about character education. I think we will all agree on this brief characteristics. And please let me know if you think that this is something that resonates with you, that this is something that you would like to achieve in your school, in your classroom. I don't know, where should I be signaling this sticker to work? There. Maybe if you point it over there. Hey, I would like my students to care about the people around them. I would like them not to be indifferent to anyone being left behind. So general educators say, yes, I buy it, I will like this. They are not dominated by haste or by the many things that need to be done. These are people who are serene, that listen, that reflect. These are people, I don't know if you have anyone in your life that when you spend time with them, they transmit you peace, and you feel more peaceful being with them. People say, yes, I would like my children to be this kind of person. They speak their mind, combining courage and prudence. They're not indifferent when facing injustice. Their life purpose is aligned with what they do. They seek to contribute to the common good of their community, of society, of their school. And they even find satisfaction in doing so. They enjoy doing this. Oh, this is really good. They know that their opinions and their solutions are not necessarily the best ones. No. They're open and willing to search with others to what would be the better thing that we can do, which would be the best solution. And of course, it's a pleasure spending time with them. This is another dimension. No? These are people that we like to spend time with. They are kind, they are friendly, endearing, modest, easy to deal with. And another part, no, is doing their job well is a fundamental part of their life. No? I think this is also something that we really invested on schools. We want citizens who are able to do a good job. No? And finally, what moves this kind of person stems from who they are. Their identity and their integrity. They do not need to be watched to comply. These are people that can be trusted. So in general, like every educator that you meet, even if it's in a public school, in a Catholic school, in a single-sex school, in a co-ed school, or in whatever culture, I have not yet found someone that says, hey, no, we wouldn't like our children to be this way, no? Or it will depend on what the parents have to say. In general, everyone agrees with this, no? And I think it's a lot of common sense. So I always begin with this presentation, with these slides, because I want you to think that, hey, we think that having good character or explaining character education is coming back to common sense. It's not something too complicated. You don't need to have several anthropological courses and knowing about philosophy or whatever to be able to promote the character development of your students, no? One of the things that, as Pete was saying, that I really like about the Prime model is that it's accessible to anyone. So if we really want to make an impact on education around the world, we need something like this, I guess, no? Even though it's good to have a good anthropological basis and having philosophers thinking about this and, no? To educate a person in academic and not in morals is to educate a menace to society. Again, I think the public that is found here doesn't have to be convinced of this, no? We wouldn't like the people who is ruling us or the people who has power to be only interested in themselves, no? Or just looking out for them and being able to not take advantage of others. And finally, as I said, I come from the character education world. for the character education movement. But maybe you know similar movements, similar approaches like moral education, social education, emotional education, or maybe not, the social emotional education approach, the positive education, no, from the positive psychology movement that started in the 2000s, and finally personalized education, which I think is something really important in PAREF schools. So one of the problems that we have in education, when people is interested in one of them or maybe in all of them, is that we think that these are more things that we need to add to education. It's like we have an ordinary education, which is math, science, socially, whatever, and we need to add character education, and then we need to add values education, and then we need to also do personalized education, and it's adding more and more things. And I don't know about the Philippines, but I think in general in every country, the teachers are like, we can do more things. No, we have already too much on our plate. Don't ask us to do something else. No? Is it possible for you to do good education without considering emotions? I don't think that can be done. Can you do good education without considering the social dimension of human beings? It's crazy. Can you do good education without considering morality, the character, the person? I think it doesn't make sense. And this is not something new. This is something that I know Aristotle or Plato have already included. I don't know. Plato said that a good education consisted of being able to grieve and to be joyful about the things that we ought for. You know? That was his definition of good education. It's an emotional definition of education. So I think that all these movements that started, I think, in the 1950s these are not add-ups to education. These are movements that were trying to restore the noble and original purpose of education. And that have appeared because we were losing something essential to what education truly means. So the approach that I will be presenting today, Pete said that I was going to explain the prime model. More than explaining the prime model, which is something that we will do on the training on Monday, I think this is an introduction to understand what the prime model is and why is it so interesting for the purpose that we have in hand. We agree with Marvin saying, hey, good character education is good education. It's not something else. At the beginning I thought it was this doesn't mean anything. No, this is a very simple sentence, but it's really deep. And this is what I will be trying to describe during the slides that we have in this presentation. So we call this framing thoughts, because we think that the core of the problem that we have when we try to promote character education, values education, personalized education is the frame. It's a frame through which we have to see this problem. It's a frame that limits the possible interpretation of what's happening. It's a frame that limits the possible solutions that we can find, no? And maybe it's presumptuous on my behalf, but what we will be trying to do during this presentation is opening up this frame, or maybe even break it, okay? I think that educators all around the world already have a theory of education, a theory of what's important, of what truly matters, and I won't be trying to convince you otherwise. No? I think that what we will be presenting today is something that is compatible with the theory that you already have. This is only maybe an invitation to have another perspective, an invitation to see things in a different way that may enrich the vision that you already have. But if you like it even better than the one that you have, you're welcome. You can have it. No? You can buy it and keep it for your own. I'm going to be presenting 7 ideas, and I think we have until, I don't know, until what time do we have, because we started later, so who is the one who rules this? Rodney. 12:05 for the presentation or for the questions and everything? Including the questions. Okay, so we'll end up at -10, so we can have like 15 minutes for questions. Is that fine with you? Yes. Okay, very well. So the first idea, it's a joke. I'm going to tell a joke, okay? Be ready. But I must warn you, it's not a funny joke. It's a philosophical joke, okay? So don't have great expectations. The joke is included in a book called Platinum Platypus Walk into a Bar. No? A promising title. And it goes like this. There's a gentleman walking at night in the park, and it's dark, it's hard to see, and he sees that there's another gentleman looking for something below a lamp, below the light. And he approaches him and says, hey, what happened? Did you lose something? And he said, yes, I lost my keys. And the other man says, well, I'm so sorry. Do you want me to help you look for them? And he says, you're so kind. Please help me. And they start looking for the keys, and they spend 3, 4, 5 minutes. And the guy says, hey, we've been looking here for a long time. Are you sure that you lost the keys here? And he says, oh no, I lost them over here. And then the guy turns around and he says, then if you lost them there, why are we looking here? And he answers, because here the light is better. Thank you for your generous laughs, for your generous and authentic. So, even though it's not the funnier joke that you may have heard, I think it's a powerful image. It's an image that we will be constantly presenting and going back and forth during the presentation. And it will be the light, no? And the darkness with the keys. Second idea. We think that the problem or the challenge that we have when trying to promote character, personalized values, moral education is a matter of design. So I'll try to explain this idea, okay? But first of all, I would like to make a little contest, like Peter, but I'm not going to make you come to the front. I would like you to try to guess the name of an art collection. I'm going to be putting some art objects, from a collection, and I would like someone to try to guess which is the name of the collection, okay? So first of all, we have the wine cups. The thing to warm milk. The spoon. The fork. Try to guess, what do they have in common? The portable ruler. The flat key. And finally, no, come on. The glasses, this reminds me of Harry Potter, I don't know why. And finally, the toothbrush. Is someone brave enough to try to tell which is the name of the collection? Useless, okay? Could be, but it's not. Bad design could be, but it's not, thank you. What? Crazy. That's a good one, but no, it's not. Unique. Could be, but it's not. Blue. Glue. Ah, glue. Okay, could be, but it's not. Thank you. So, the name is hidden in the previous subject. I don't know if it can be seen from over there, but it's written here. Hey, what's happening here? It's written here. It says, the uncomfortable. It was so easy, So the thing is, all the subjects, the idea that I think is really interesting about this collection is that this looks like they have been amazingly designed, Like they were made by a great designer. They look fancy, they look shiny. And maybe some of you will look at these cups and say, I would like to have this cup from Christmas dinner, But if you look closer and you start thinking about it, you say, hey, how am I going to drink from this? I need to be cheek to cheek with the other person? No? And you're either Voldemort and you don't have a nose, or it's going to be pretty hard to drink from this bottle, from this cup. The same, you will burn your hand when you're serving hot milk, and I don't need to explain the rest of the jokes. Come on. There it goes. One more. I'm going to change this side. Maybe it works better. So finally, after we showed this art collection, we put this quote by Paul Houston, the former executive director of the American Association for School Administrators, 15 years ago. Schools are perfectly designed for the results we're getting. If we don't like the results, we need to redesign schools. I really like this approach. First of all, for many reasons. One of them is that this is not an imposition. He's not saying, hey, you need to redesign schools. He's saying, hey, are you happy with the results that you're getting? Are you satisfied? Do you feel strong enough to continue for the next 5, 6, 10 years? Okay. But if you're feeling tired, if you're not entirely satisfied, if you would like someone to replace you soon because this is a lot of work, then maybe this is an invitation to think, maybe it's the design. I also like this approach because there's no villain. Sometimes we say, no, the problem is the principal who is an evil being, or the parents, the families, the students. No, this is not saying, hey, we're all good people, we're trying our best. Maybe the problem is how things have been designed, distributed, organized. No? When we go through these countries and we ask the school principals during this 5-day-long training thing that we do, and we ask them, hey, what needs to change in your school in order for it to thrive? We have top 4 answers, which are the students. The students are the ones that need to change. If we had better students, the school would go. No? And then they say, no, you got it wrong. The problem are the teachers. The teachers are the real problem. We need to change the teachers. Then some other principals come and say, no, you got it all wrong. The real problem are the families. The families are the ones that need to change. And finally, we have another answer in which they say, it's the government. The government is the one that needs to change. That's the real problem, no? And we tell them, hey, it's fine, but it's a very, from this perspective and from this approach, you get a lot of frustration because it's very highly probable that you will have the same students, the same teachers, the same families, and probably a worse government. So if you're waiting for that to change in order for your school to thrive, you can sit down and wait. You know? Focusing on what we can redesign in our schools, it's something that is in your hands. Or at least if you're a school leader, if you're the principal of that school, if you're the administrator, it's something that is relatively in your power. So that's what we're going to be focusing on. How can we redesign the ordinary things that are happening already in our schools? I will explain this idea further during the presentation. Next idea. When you're designing a service or a product, if you have ever been in a design school, we have one in Navarra, the students are taught from the very beginning, it's very important to define what's necessary to fulfill a service or to produce a product. And what's sufficient, because usually you don't have infinite resources or you want to save some of them and you want to have more revenue, whatever. So I'm good doing the contrary, the opposite thing. What is not necessary and what is not sufficient in order to promote good education, character education, values education, whatever. So when we go through the world and we ask principals, hey, is character education important for you? Is moral education important for you? Is values education? And they say, it's really important. No, JP, not even that. It's the most important thing in our schools. So we ask them, hey, if this is the most important thing for you, what are you doing to achieve this? And these are the top answers that we usually have. Hey, we have a curriculum. We have some lessons and classes in which we go through the virtues. We have the virtue of the month, the character strength of the month. And we explain ethics, we do moral dilemmas, we have these ethical discussions, and so on, and so on, and so on. The curriculum is integrated in the curriculum. We do collaborative learning because there's strong evidence that this helps to develop social virtues. We do the flipped classroom because this helps to develop responsibility and sense of ownership in students. We do service learning, which is amazing, and this is motivating a lot of students to find the true meaning of why is it important to learn, and what we can contribute to society. We do community service, and we go and pick up the trash so that we can relate with society and their challenges. Some other schools are doing mindfulness and yoga to keep the children relaxed and quiet, A lot of people focus on selection. Hey, we need to choose very cautiously each student, each teacher, each family, so that everyone is on the same boat and everyone agrees and we don't have anyone who is disruptive in our community. Some other people are looking for the more classical, traditional approach of this course is about great books academies and hey, let's read the greatest book of all history of humankind so that these books can inspire us and we can think our lives differently. And finally, there's a lot of places in which they do mentoring or tutoring. I don't know if this is the way that you call it in the Philippines, in which, hey, we have an adult who has a personal, individual conversation with a child for 15, 20 minutes, each 15, 20 days. I don't know if I'm missing anything, and you may have more things. It's fine. But the thing is, I don't want to criticize any of these practices and strategies. I've been an educator too, and I've done all of them. Some of them I like better, some of them I like less. What I want to transmit are two ideas. The first thing, none of these practices and strategies is strictly necessary to promote good education, to promote character education, or to promote personalized education. None of them. Which is the strongest evidence that we have to back up this argument? Well, there are many schools who are achieving this, and they're not doing all of them. Or maybe they're not doing none of them. Even though some of them are pretty popular, I would say. But sometimes they don't. And it's fine. They can still promote good character development in their students. The second idea would be, hey, JP, can you guarantee me that if I do all of this, I will get it? I will have a good school. I will have good education. Well, there are many schools that are doing everything that is in the screen and even more. And they're still not happy, they're not achieving it, and they are somehow desperate, no? Or about to burn out. So, coming back to the image of the light and the darkness, what is usually under the light? And what is usually the things that, where the principals and the teachers are looking for the keys? So the first would be, do more. Let's do more things. A lot of people think there's a paradigm, and not only in education but in society in general, that if we do more things, we will do a better job. If we do more things in school, then we're doing better education. The way in which we try to distinguish our schools from other schools is that we do more things. We have more activities. We have more projects. We're in more rankings than the nearby schools. You must choose us because we do more things. No? And it's false. You are not necessarily a better school if you're doing more things. Aitor and I have been doing this for many years and doing consulting with schools. And usually, in most of the schools, the solution for them to promote good character education begins with doing less things. Why is that? Because almost every school and almost every human being in the world right now, because of the pressures of society, are doing more than what they can actually do. Because there's a lot of pressure. You have to be better. You have to do more. You have to do it more productivity, more utility, more effectiveness. What happens when you do more than what you're capable of the first year? I think it's fair to say that you will end up tired. What happens if you do the same the second year? You end up more tired. What happens if you go on for 3, 4, 5, 6 years? You end up with a burnout. And when you're burned out, it's over. You cannot keep doing your job. It's not healthy for you. It's not healthy for the people around you. It's very difficult to be in this kind of vocation in which you're constantly with children and relating with other people. And when you spend 6 years cultivating a burnout, you need at least another 6 years to recover from it. This is not something that, no, let's have a long summer of 3 months of vacation. As these people will come back fresh and healthy, you know. This takes a lot of time. So it's not worth it. The solution doesn't come from doing more things. And other people think that this is something about the method, the technique that we're using, no? Hey, we're using Kumon to learn math, we were saying yesterday, no? Kumon, come on, this is a thing from the past. You must do the Singapore method. That's the method for learn math, no? Not the Singapore. So, and I don't know, maybe the international baccalaureate, they were saying yesterday that this is something that is relatively found in the Philippines. Are any of these international, no. Anyone here has an international baccalaureate? No. None, okay, so it's a good thing. I can warn you before you embark on this enterprise. This is something relatively new in Spain, and everyone is like crazy. No, we need to get international baccalaureate, and they're paying like a lot of money, and they are like investing all their teachers to go to this accreditation. And I come from Mexico. In Mexico, I did international baccalaureate when I was a child. And we know that this is not going to solve the problems that we have. You know? So it's a good thing. But the keys are not here. It's not like, we haven't found the method that is really going to solve us. It's not about that. Some people think this is about resources. We need more money. If we had more money, then character education will be a thing in our school. Or if we could select better people. We need to select better teachers, better students, better families. Aitor and I have been traveling a lot, and this began in St. Louis, Missouri, as Peter was saying. Marvin has been doing this work since 1998, and he has done it in many public schools that have no money and that cannot select one single teacher, cannot select the children, cannot select the families, and they cannot fire them either. It's really hard to fire someone in the public system. And they get it. And they achieve this, and they transform their schools. So this makes us suspect that maybe this is not where the keys are. And finally, a lot of people say, hey, no, this is a problem of communication. The parents have still not understood why we do the things we do. The teachers are not convinced. No? We have not explained them properly the reasons why we do the things they do. If they understood us, then they will be on our side. And they will be willing to help us, and they will be happy with what we're doing. No? What I usually tell the schools that tell me this is that, hey, some of these schools have been doing this for the last 50 years. Hey, if you have been 50 years trying to explain who you are and why you do the things you do, and people have not yet understood you, doesn't this make you suspect that maybe this is not the problem? Einstein defined insanity by saying doing the same thing over and over and expect different results. I'm not saying that any of these are wrong. If you can do more things, that's amazing. If you have let's start the Singapore method to learn math, that's fine. If we can have more money, who's going to deny that? If you can select PhD teachers from Harvard, Stanford, and Oxford, amazing. If you can find better words to explain the things that you're doing so you can win others for your cause, that's fine. What I'm saying is that the keys are not here. The fourth idea, so then where are the keys, Juan Pablo? Or another way of saying it, what's necessary? What do we think is the most necessary thing in a school to promote good education? And maybe even sufficient. If you have this, you don't have to go through a lot of more things. That would be something that some people call it the climate, the school climate, or the school culture, the atmosphere, the ethos. Each one of these has an international journal, has an international conference, an international observatory. And the experts on these fields discuss about which is the most important one. But I don't want to go through it. This is not something that needs to be explained to you. When you arrive to a new school, maybe not the first day, maybe not the second, but by the end of the first week, by the end of the second week, you already know which kind of school is this. You already know what's important in this school, what truly matters. So if we go back to the traits or the characteristics that we're trying to promote in children, I would like to show a bad culture in which this is really hard to cultivate, and then how is it a good culture in which children can thrive and grow, or in which this is more easily promoted? So let's go with the bad culture. First of all, and please try to examine yourselves and think about your schools if this is something that is happening there or not. Is my school a place in which each person cares only for himself, herself, and has neither the time nor the strength to care for others? Not because they're selfish, not because they do not care about the people who are around them, but because they cannot go on. It's too much for them to be responsible for themselves, no? To ask them to worry about the others who are around them. And if this person is married and has a wife or has a husband and has children, she or he needs to spend her first strength on them, no? Is this a school in which there is no time to read, to talk, to reflect? There are too many things to do and too much haste. Many teachers complain about the students not reading and not having conversations. And hey, do we as teachers read? Do we have time on our weeks to read interesting things, to have meaningful conversations. Because if we are not able to achieve this, maybe that's the problem. No? Teachers and students are afraid to say what they think if they disagree with their superiors. No? Because maybe I'm invited to go to work to another school. No? There is just an appearance of peace. It is not what I mean by appearance of peace is that we're not throwing rocks. No, we're not in an open war. We have come to an arrangement of minimums. This is the minimum that I have to do to comply in the school. Okay, that's the minimum that I have to do. And I will go home at 4 p.m., 5 p.m., or whatever time you go to school. If there's a crisis, it's your crisis. It's not mine. You will come on the weekend, try to fix it. No? And don't ask me to commit myself to the project. Don't ask me to believe in it. Don't ask me to have initiative. This is by far the thing that principals complain more, because when you have this kind of culture, the principal is like is trying to pull a dead weight that is just very heavy. It's my school a place in which students and staff do the minimum essential work, as we were saying. They miss school at the slightest opportunity they have. Teachers and our staff do not collaborate or discuss the solutions for their challenges. Everyone is just working on their things and they're going forward individually. Is my school a place in which bullying is practiced by students and teachers alike? I have a story about, I have two students that just graduated from pedagogy in Navarra, and they went to 2 of the top 10 schools in the country, okay? Really good schools. And when they arrived there, they were received by a mentor teacher who has been there for many years, and they were showing the school and giving them advice. And both of them told to these young, new teachers, there's one advice that you shouldn't forget if you want to remain in the school. And that advice is, you either kill or you get killed. They told, no, the other student, they said the same, but with the F word. And they were so disappointed. And they were, what happened? No, we come to one of the best schools in the country, and this is what they told us. And when you visit those schools, you see that it's a good advice. Why is that? Because these were single-sex male schools, and these were schools in which the only way in which the children remained silent in the classroom was by teachers screaming at them and threatening them. Be quiet! No! Or else! No! This is the only way in which they could control the classroom. No? An emphasis on the word control. No? Because what they do is control the students. It's not necessarily education. Controlling is not the same as educate people. And these young students didn't want it to scream, because they say, hey, this is not treating them as if they were a person. This is not education. But then the principal goes by and they says, hey, all the children are talking, all the children are making a mess, they're having a party inside the classroom. This teacher has no authority. This is a pretty young teacher, he's still green. Let's look for someone else who has authority, who can control the children. Even though sometimes we advocate a lot of personalized education, screaming is not the way to treat a person. It is well seen to cheat and to get away with it. No? What students admire is being a cheater. And finally, is my school a place in which people do things on the basis of threats, punishments, rewards, or recognition? Something that can only happen in a surveillance environment. You need to have someone always watching. For many sociological, psychological, anthropological, and philosophical reasons, when we are in these conditions, it's very difficult to flourish. It's very difficult for us to grow. It's very difficult for us to become the person who we are called to be. How is a good culture? Well, pretty much the opposite of this. Is my school a place in which people can care? People care for one another? With designated time, spaces, and activities to meet and share? Not because people are so good in this school, no? They don't have any things to do and they can spend time with others. No, because there's someone there who has intentionally and strategically created the spaces and times for us to meet, to know one another, so that we can actually care for them. Because if we don't know them, it's really hard to care for someone that you don't know. And if we don't care for one another, the rest of the school will fall apart. Is this a place where there's time for reading, reflection, and conversation? Haste and busyness doesn't run the school, even though we have to do things and we need to comply with times. But this is not the main thing in the school. This is not what rules us. Everything can be discussed. They're not taboo things. We can talk. We can speak our minds. Everyone can be heard. And maybe some of the decisions can be made collaboratively with stakeholders, with all of them. You know? What Pete was saying about empowering the community. You know? This doesn't mean that everyone needs to decide everything. That doesn't make any sense. But many of the things can be done this way. Absenteeism is not a problem. People want to go to work and they enjoy their work. It's better for them to go to work than staying at home watching Netflix. But in many cases I've found that it's not. A lot of people prefer to stay at home watching Netflix. Not because they're lazy, but maybe because it's a better option. It will depend on the kind of culture that you have in your school. Teachers and staff typically collaborate, they work together, they're open to learn from one another. Instead of bullying, the veteran students are there to serve the young ones, and they feel pride in it, you know? We're the ones here to serve the new ones. Instead of admiring cheating and this kind of stuff, academic integrity is highly valued. We admire the good students, and we would like to be like them. You know? This is the kind of school in which we admire this kind of thing. And finally, what motivates the people in these schools is who they are. Their identity and their integrity. They are and they feel trusted. So there's one thing that I would like to share with you, and we saw it yesterday, is that many leaders and many school teachers do not like to take risks. They're trying to avoid risk at all costs. No? So there's one problem with avoiding risks, is that there cannot be trust if there is no risk. Because if there's no risk, what are you trusting? If you eliminate any chance for risk, implicitly and maybe explicitly, you're communicating to your people, I don't trust you. And I don't need to explain this to you, because have you ever been in a relationship in which someone important for you doesn't trust you? Like your husband, your wife, a friend, a father, a mother, or maybe a teacher, a boss. It's really hard for you to grow in that kind of relationship. Going back to the light and the darkness, and I think I will end up with this, where do we think the keys are? In who we are, in how we relate to one another, in the integrity that we have, in what moves us, which are the true motives that make us do the things we do. If we're here to serve others or to serve ourselves, and if we have trust or not, and if this is a community in which we're peaceful, we have peace. And right now, this is the best moment for the image of the light and the darkness, because look, all the things that are under the light, these are all things, if you're the school principal or administrator or the boss of the network, these are all things that you can control. All of these things you can demand. All of these things under the light, you can assess. You can evaluate this. You can put all these things into a contract. However, none of these things can be controlled, will never be under your control. These things cannot be demanded. None of these things can be written into a contract. As much, no, this can only be an invitation for people to join you in this. Can you put into a contract that your teachers smile in the school? No. However, if your teachers don't smile in school, you have a problem. Can you put into a contract that teachers care unconditionally for their students? You cannot put that. However, if your teachers don't care about your students, you have a problem. Can you put that your teachers try to have friendship relationships with their colleagues? You cannot write that. However, if the community that you have doesn't cultivate friendships ordinarily, you have a real problem. Some people say, hey, Juan Pablo, you're talking more about the character of the teachers than the students. We need to focus on the character of students. Yeah, I agree. But I think this is not incompatible because we agree with Tom Licona, no? As we're looking at him just previously on the video. The single most powerful tool you have to impact the student's character is your own character. So you either have teachers that are okay, or they are not going to be able to help your students to be okay. You either have teachers who are cultivating a good character, or they won't be able to help the students to develop a good character. You either have teachers that are growing as a person doing their job, or they won't be able to help students to grow as a person being a student. And I think I have many more things, but I'm going to stop right now so we can have at least 10 minutes of discussion. Thank you very much for your attention. As I told previously, I will share the, well, we have the Instagram here if you want to follow us and see videos of the trainings that we do. But here is the slide with the QR code and the presentation.
Thank you very much, Dr. Juan Dabdoub. And those were very wonderful insights shared, especially, oh, sorry if I'm blocking it, especially to us formators, school administrators, and teachers. We realize, I guess, that we have a heavy responsibility to carry and fulfill, especially because the character formation of our students and of us teachers ourselves relies not just on the school administrators, not just on the teachers, but relies on everybody. And of course, character formation extends at home, and like what the quote said, the best way we can influence them is through our character. So I guess we ourselves need to be formed in order for our formation to be successful. Before our quick Q&A, I would just like to announce a few things. The QR code for our e-certificate is at the registration booth. You may proceed there and scan the QR code and obtain your e-certificate. And at the same time, we would like to invite you to visit our PAREF booth at the ground floor beside the registration area and check out our branded merchandise. Anyway, so our speakers are here. So is there anyone who wants to ask a question? You're free to proceed to the mic in the middle. Anyone?
Everything was very clear.
Yes, it seems that our two speakers did an excellent job in, convincing and forming all participants. So if there is none